All right, when people say they want to move to San Diego, they're usually not just talking about the house. They've got a whole lifestyle in mind. They've got the beaches, the weather, coffee shop, coast highway, maybe surfing before work, taking the kids to the beach after school, grabbing dinner in a little coastal town, all of that. And I totally get it. And that is the dream a lot of people think about when moving to San Diego. But San Diego County is not just one lifestyle. You can live in the same county and have a completely different day-to-day life depending on where you actually land. A $1.5 million budget near the coast might get you an older, smaller home that needs some work, but now the beach, the weather, and the walkability are part of your normal routine, where that same budget inland might get you more square footage, a bigger yard, a driveway, maybe a pool, but now it's warmer, more car dependent, and the beach is probably more of a weekend thing. Or you buy a condo in downtown or in Little Italy, you get the restaurants, you get walkability, Petco Park, the airport, the waterfront. Now the HOA parking, building rules, and actual monthly costs can become the real conversation. So the real mistake is not picking a bad area. The mistake is seeing something online thinking that looks like San Diego and then realizing later that the day-to-day life is totally different than what you had pictured. And Cassie and I see this all the time on relocation calls. Almost every call eventually turns into this exact conversation, not just what can you afford, but what version of San Diego are you actually trying to buy? Just because it says San Diego County does not mean that it gives you the San Diego lifestyle you have in your head. So in this video, we're gonna go through 5 San Diego areas buyers often get wrong when moving here, what people see online, what they miss, and who each area actually makes sense for. And just to be clear, this is not one of those avoid these places videos. None of these areas are bad. They can all be great if they match your life, but every single one comes with a trade-off. And before we get into the areas, real quick thing, the list price is one thing. The actual monthly cost can be a totally different conversation. SDG&E, which is our local electricity provider, is expensive. Recent data put San Diego County around 39 cents per kilowatt hour, which is roughly double the national average. Now, solar can help, but you need to know if it's owned or if it's leased. If it's leased, it's gonna have a monthly payment, or it's tied to a power purchase agreement. Another thing that can show up is Melloroos on newer master plan communities as community facilities districts, or CFDs, and it could add to your property tax bill. And HOA fees matter too. Countywide, the median HOA fee on listings with dues was about $367 a month, but downtown condos can be much higher, often $600, $800, $1,000 plus, depending on the building. So as we go through these areas, we're not just talking about the price, we're talking about the actual monthly cost, the lifestyle, the commute, the weather, the house itself, and what a random Tuesday actually feels like once you live there. But let's get into it. Number 5 is East County, specifically El Cajon and Santee. And this is one of the places people look and buyers notice online when they start comparing homes, because compared to the coast, central San Diego, or even parts of North County, the numbers can look a lot more approachable. So you start looking at homes online and you're like, wait one sec, I can get more house, more yard, a driveway, maybe a pool, and still be in San Diego County. East County is still San Diego County, but it's a different side of San Diego. It's warmer, it's more spread out, it's more car dependent, and it doesn't feel like the beach version of San Diego that a lot of relocators have in their head. In El Cajon and Santee, you can regularly be 10 to 15 degrees warmer than the coast, if not more in the summertime. During the heat waves, it can push well above that. Now, for some people, that's actually a good thing. If you want pool weather, if you want a bigger yard, if you want some outdoor space, and you're not somebody who needs to be near the ocean every day, that can definitely be a win. But I always bring it back to beach math, because when you're watching YouTube videos from out of state, a 30 or 40 minute drive to the beach sounds easy. You think no big deal, I'll just head over there after work, but then real life happens. Traffic, dinner, kids, parking, work, sports, school pickups, all the normal stuff. And that beach trip becomes a Saturday thing, not a random Tuesday after work thing. Santee can make a ton of sense if your life is built around a backyard, sports, parks, trails, maybe a pool, and a more suburban feel. El Cajon really depends on the exact part of town. There's a wider range of housing, some older homes, some larger lots in some of the areas, more affordability in some of the areas, and some real nice hillside areas. And if you like the value side of East County, but still want to be a little more central, I would also compare it against La Mesa. La Mesa gives you a little more character, some more walkable areas, and easier access to central San Diego, but usually at a different price point. Also, once you start pushing further east or into the hillside or some of the rural areas, insurance and fire zones are something you want to look into before you actually buy. So the mistake is not moving to East County. The mistake is thinking you're moving to San Diego, kind of that picture you had in your head, that coastal San Diego at a discount, but you really didn't. You found a different side of San Diego where you have more space, more yard, a driveway, more pool weather, and more value, but less coastal access, hotter summers, and a more car dependent routine. Now, for some buyers, a trade-off is totally worth it, but if your dream is walking to the beach right after work, living near a coast highway, you need to be honest about whether this actually matches the the life you're picturing. Now, look, I know planning a move to San Diego can be hard, especially when you're trying to figure out which area actually matches your lifestyle, your budget, and your commute, because a lot of these places look similar online. You're looking at the photos, the prices, the bedrooms, maybe on a map, and it's easy to think, okay, this is only 25 or 30 minutes from the beach, so we're good. But the reality is where you live in San Diego County changes your day-to-day life a lot. And this is exactly what Cassie and I help people work through all the time. We've helped people move into all these spots, so it's not necessarily one is bad or one is better. It's really what one fits your lifestyle. So if you're trying to figure out where you actually fit in San Diego County, feel free to reach out. All of our info is right down below in the description. We're happy to walk you through your situation, your timeline, your budget, where you're working, and what you want your daily life to feel like, and help you make a much smoother move right here to San Diego. All right, now let's talk about area number 4, where the day-to-day is almost the exact opposite of East County, and that's downtown and Little Italy condos. You're gonna be close to the waterfront, to the restaurants, Petco Park, you have the airport right there, in Embarcadero, the Little Italy's farmer market, coffee shops, bars, events, and in some buildings you get views, you get rooftop decks, gyms, pools, and that lock it and leave it set up. So if that is what you're looking for, it can be awesome. But the mistake here is shopping by purchase price instead of the actual monthly cost. The purchase price might look lower than a detached home somewhere else in the county, but once you add HOA fees, property taxes, insurance, parking, possible assessments, the monthly cost can look very different. In a lot of the downtown and Little Italy buildings, HOA fees can easily run $600, $800, $1,000 a month or more, especially in buildings with elevators, gyms, pools, security, common areas, older building systems, or higher insurance costs. And HOA fees usually don't stay flat forever. With insurance costs, maintenance, reserves, building upkeep, and long-term repairs, buyers can expect that HOA dues can continue to rise over time. Now, that doesn't automatically make it a bad buy. It just means that you need to understand the building, not just the unit. 2 condos can be 3 blocks apart at the same price. It could be completely different financially. Little Italy might give you restaurants, the farmers market, and the waterfront access. The Columbia District might give you more of that high-rise waterfront tower feel. East Village might be more about Petco Park, newer buildings, and event access. So you're not just choosing downtown San Diego, you're actually choosing a very specific building on a very specific block with a very specific HOA, the reserve setup, the parking setup, the rental policy, and the street feel. Parking is another one of those that buyers can miss. You might be assigned 1 parking space, you might get 2, you might get some storage, you might not. Guest parking can be a real issue depending on the actual building. And then you have the actual building rules, the pet restrictions, the rental restrictions, the short-term rental rules, move-in fees, elevator reservations, noise rules, and financial quirks can all matter. So don't assume that you can rent it however you want or use it however you want. Every building has its own rules. The good is obvious though. If you really want urban San Diego, this could be an incredible setup. You can walk to dinner, you can walk down to the farmer's market, you can go catch a Padres game. You're gonna be minutes from the airport, you're gonna be close to the waterfront, and live with a very little maintenance compared to owning a detached home. But the question isn't just, can I afford the purchase price? The better question is, does this building, this HOA, this parking situation, this street, and this day-to-day actually match how I want to live? If you want the walkability and the restaurants and the events, super easy access to the airport, and low maintenance living, this could be great. But if you want a yard, you want some quiet streets, you want super easy guest parking and storage, and more of that classic Southern California house feel, this might not be the best fit. Number 3 is Carmel Valley and Pacific Highlands Ranch, right off the 56 corridor right here in San Diego. And these are the areas where a lot of buyers think they're getting coastal San Diego because they are super close to Del Mar and they are close to the beach, but this is not Del Mar. The mistake here is thinking close to Del Mar means beach town living, but it doesn't. You're not buying a beach town, you're buying convenience. You're buying for the schools, for the shopping, for the parks, commute access, and one of the easier day-to-day setups in the county. Carmel Valley has been around longer. It's a little closer to the coast. It's super convenient if you're commuting to Sorrento Valley, UTC, Torrey Pines, or that whole job corridor. Pacific Highlands Ranch feels newer, a little more master planned with newer homes, newer shopping, and a lot of the daily life stuff already built around you. Now, a lot of buyers are drawn here because the school options, including campuses like Canyon Crest Academy, Torrey Pines High, and other schools buyers ask us about a lot. You also have One Paseo, Del Mar Highlands Town Center, and the Village at Pacific Highlands Ranch for grocery stores and gyms, parks, restaurants, sports fields around. And then you also down to the south have Los Penasquitos Canyon Preserve for nearby trails and open space. So if your life is school drop-off, soccer practice, tutoring, Trader Joe's, dinner, and getting to work in Sorrento Valley, maybe UTC, this area is really efficient. But for most people, you're still driving to the coast, you're still driving to the beach. It's not walking to Coast Highway, go down there, grab a coffee, that kind of thing. And the feel's very different. It's clean, convenient, well-maintained, and extremely dialed in. But it's not that funky coastal San Diego town some people picture when you're thinking coastal San Diego. It's not Leucadia, it's not Cardiff, it's not Encinitas. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just needs to match what you actually want. Now, the monthly cost matters here too. This is where you need to check the tax bill carefully, because two homes at the same price point can have very different monthly payments depending on the Mello-Roos and the HOA. This especially matters in newer areas like Pacific Highlands Ranch. And traffic is another real thing here, especially when you're trying to connect to the 5 freeway. The 56 can kind of back up depending on when you're traveling, peak times, and that 5 connection can be a little bit of grind depending on your schedule. So the mistake's not moving to Carmel Valley or Pacific Highlands Ranch. The mistake is thinking practical means coastal. If the setup matches your life, the area is hard to beat. But if your dream was a funky beach town where you want to walk to Coast Highway and surf before work, this is probably going to feel more like Irvine than Encinitas. And now I want to look at another area where the math starts to look a little bit better for buyers, especially move-up buyers, but the trade-off becomes the heat, the commute, and understanding the exact area. Number 2 is inland North County, specifically San Marcos and Escondido. And this is where a lot of buyers start to feel like the math finally works out. You're getting more house, more yard. These are all in general, right? A driveway, maybe a pool. In some cases, in southern San Marcos or certain other areas, you get a little newer construction, and still within San Diego County. If you're comparing this against Encinitas, Solana Beach, maybe Carmel Valley, maybe Carlsbad even, the difference in what you can get for your money can be pretty dramatic. And for move-up buyers, San Marcos is one of those areas that the math starts to make a lot more sense. You can often get the extra bedroom, the yard, the garage, the driveway, and in some areas, like I said, some newer community feel without jumping all the way into coastal pricing. But the mistake is thinking inland North County is just cheaper coastal North County. Sometimes you're close enough to enjoy the coast, but your daily life may feel much more inland, much more suburban than a beach city. It's gonna be warmer, it's gonna be more spread out, it's gonna be more car dependent, and the commute matters a lot more than people expect. And San Marcos and Escondido are not one size fits all. The exact areas matter a lot. San Elijo Hills feels different than older parts of San Marcos. Southern San Marcos feels different than the north side. And Escondido has an even wider range from the dense kind of downtown area to some hillside homes to a little more rural feeling areas, older subdivisions, some larger lots, and a few newer communities on the edges. San Marcos is usually the easier value play for a lot of move-up buyers. It's got some of those newer communities and some good access around North County, some shopping, some parks, some trails, Cal State San Marcos, and neighborhoods that work well if you need some space, but you still want to stay connected to Carlsbad, Encinitas, or the 78 corridor. And Escondido is just different. It's not just the cheaper option. It has its own thing going on. You have kind of that downtown, like I said, a little more dense in there. As you get out, you have the safari park, you have Lake Hodges, you have Daily Ranch, some wineries, a little bit larger lots, hillside homes, and way more variety in the type of property you can buy. But the trade-off's real. You get more pool weather, but you give up some of that coastal air conditioning. So once you push a little farther inland into some of these areas, especially towards Escondido, it can feel noticeably warmer than the coast during the summertime. And the commute is another big one here. A 35 to 45 minute commute doesn't sound terrible when you're looking at homes online, but if you're doing that every morning on the 78, the 15, or try and connect over the 5, it can become a real part of your life. If you're commuting to Sorrento Valley or UTC or downtown San Diego, La Jolla, or the coast every single day, map that out at the actual time you would be driving, not at 11 a.m. on a Saturday. Do it at like 7:30 or 8 a.m. in the morning when everyone else is on the road too. Now, some areas, Mello-Roos can also show up in some of the newer neighborhoods, especially in southern San Marcos. So it's worth checking out. And if you start pushing more into the hillside, the rural, or the edge of the town areas, especially around Escondido, insurance and fire zones are something you want to understand before you buy too. And that brings us to number 1, which is the area we probably get asked about the most. And honestly, we get it because this area is actually delivers on a lot of the stuff that people picture when they actually think about moving to San Diego. Number 1 is coastal North County, specifically Encinitas, Cardiff, and Solana Beach. For a lot of people moving to San Diego, this is the dream. And like I said, we totally get it. These are all areas we get asked about a lot, and there is a good reason for that. This is also the lifestyle I personally understand, because this is where I live, this is where I work, this is where I spend time with my family, go grab a coffee, go to the beach, and do a lot of the normal day-to-day stuff. You have the coast, you have the surf culture, you have Coast Highway 101, tons of coffee shops, great restaurants, farmers markets, ton of walkable areas, great weather, a lot of community character, and that slower coastal rhythm that a lot of people are picturing when they say that they actually want to move to San Diego. This is where the beach can actually become part of your normal routine, maybe not just a weekend trip. But the mistake is thinking that the budget buys maximum house instead of maximum lifestyle. In coastal North County, you're usually buying lifestyle first and the house second. A buyer might look at a $1.8 million or $2 million home and expect it to feel like a $1.8 or $2 million home from wherever they're moving from. But here, a lot of the money is buying location, weather, beach access, community, scarcity, and the ability to make the coast part of your daily life. Now, the lifestyle usually delivers. The house is where the compromise usually shows up. Now, the closer you get to the coast, the more a house becomes the compromise, not the lifestyle. And a lot of the housing stock in Encinitas, Cardiff, Solana Beach, a lot of it was built in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. So some homes have been totally remodeled, looking beautiful. Some may need some work. Some may be looking like a little smaller lot, an older floor plan, some lower ceilings, limited storage, tighter garages, sloped yard, maybe no real yard, or a house that has some older systems, maybe needs some termite work, some drainage fixes, or a full remodel. And this is where we always try to slow buyers down a little bit, because it's easy to fall in love with the location and tell yourself, well, we'll just remodel it later. But near the coast, that's not always as simple as it sounds. Depending on where the property is actually located, the coastal commission, the city, the coastal zone rules can all play a role in what you can do, how long it takes, and what approvals are needed. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't remodel. People do it all the time, but the coastal properties can require a little more homework than some of those as you're going further inland. Now, beach access is another one. The ocean's right there, but depending on the area, beach access may mean stairs, may mean bluffs, parking, crossing the railroad tracks, or using specific access points. It's not always walk straight out to your door and onto the sand, but once you learn the spots, that becomes part of your lifestyle. You're gonna find your beach access, your favorite coffee shop, your surf breaks, your walking routine, your farmer's market routine, and that's what makes these towns feel so special. So if you're picturing blue sky beach days every single morning, coastal San Diego can surprise you a little more late spring, early summer, where it does get a little bit cooler during those times. And inventory is the other major issue. There's limited new construction, there's limited inventory in a lot of these areas. So when the right homes do come up, you usually don't have the same amount of time as you think when you think of a slower inland or some of the condo markets. And even within these three areas, the day-to-day life changes a lot. Leucadia is not the same as Old Encinitas. Cardiff's walking district is going to be different than east of the 5. Solana Beach west of the 5 feels different from Solana Beach east of the 5 as well. Livin is part of Encinitas, but it gives you more space, more rural feel. It's not like walk to the beach living. So if this is the area that you're drawn to, get really clear on your non-negotiables. Is it going to be walkability? Is it going to be beach access? Is it going to be yard space, home condition, specific commute? Because most buyers aren't getting everything they want here unless they have a very large budget. So the real question becomes, what are you willing to compromise on to get that coastal lifestyle? So if you understand these 5 areas, it should help you start narrowing down where you actually fit in San Diego County. And again, none of these areas are bad. They could all be great if they match your life, but every single one comes with trade-offs. And that's the main thing we do when someone reaches out about moving here. We don't just ask them about their budget. We ask them where they're gonna be working, how often they actually want to go to the beach, whether they need a yard, whether schools or specific boundaries matter, and whether you want walkability or you want space, how you feel about the heat, what kind of commute you actually want to live with, and what your actual monthly costs look like. Because the right area has a lot less to do with the map and a lot more to do with how you want your day-to-day life to actually feel. So if you are thinking about moving to San Diego, or even if you already live here and you're just trying to figure out where your next move is, reach out. The link is right down below in the description. No pressure, no pitch. We'll walk you through your situation, your timeline, your budget, what you're trying to solve, and help you point you in the right direction. But if you want to go check out some more underrated neighborhoods right here in San Diego, go check out that next video popping up. We'll catch you on the next one.